everybody. My name is Helena.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors, and coaches to build a business on your terms. And it is so vital that you're here. For those of you who are now going, well, this is a bit deja vu. Weren't you just doing a live a moment ago? Yes, we were. And it was a bonus live. This is our normal 1 o'clock on a Tuesday. Let us teach you how to be even better speakers, authors, or to run an even better speaker, author, and coach business. And that's what we're really kind of here for. So today's is, we're very honored to have Matthew Hughes with us. He is king of video, which for these times that we're in is a really vital thing. So I'm just going to let you do the normal thing for those of you who know it. If you're not in the Connection Hub, please, please, please do come and join a whole bunch, over 6,000 speakers, authors, and coaches who are all having conversations, connecting, talking about things, especially in these changing times. There's a lot of activity in there at the moment. So if you are watching this just on the Speaker Insight page, go over there, because that's our stage. The group is kind of our after party. That's where the really cool stuff happens. So do kind of come and play in there. If you're watching this as a hashtag replay, because you, for whatever reason, whether you've already had enough of us, because we've done an hour and a bit on how to use Zoom just earlier on, that's going to be in the recordings for you. But if not, just watch do as a hashtag replay, because we really want to know that you are getting good value from this. But also it means that you can tag either Matthew, Kelly, or myself with any questions that you've got, whenever you're watching this, whether it's 6 months down the line or whether it is indeed live. For those of you who are here live and who were live with us a moment ago, good on you. I hope you've had some lunch in the 20 minutes that we gave you in between. But more importantly, what's the buzz in your business? The buzz in our business is certainly just that we've done this bonus training, and we've got, sort of a lot of engagement going on in the group, that we are actively doing our best to really support people in this time. You can see that I'm at home in Hampshire. Kelly, you're at home in
the normal background for me.
That's exactly it. And Matthew, you are, I'll let him introduce himself properly for in a moment, but what's the buzz in your business, Matthew?
Change and uncertainty. That's the buzz in our business. No, I mean, we support businesses online quite a lot. So whilst this craziness is going on, actually I'm quite excited and optimistic. We were talking before we went live about changes that have happened, and innovation happens out of these things. So I'm really excited to see how people's businesses evolve.
Yeah, we do, and we love that, and that's why what Helena was saying in the Connection Hub, which I put a link down on the comments for those of you who are watching on the page. But
it's okay.
Oh, right.
Okay. All good.
So in the announcement post in there, guys, we've got quite a lot of support for those of you that are doing exactly what Matthew said, pivoting and innovating in this time of the COVID-19 outbreak. So there's a pin post on there for all the supporting resources. There's a pin post up there about how to work remotely with all of the technology that's out there for you. So make sure that you are using that. And if you have something, because we know that this group is full of over 6,000 leaders, if you've got a resource or support or some offering that you can offer our team members or our group, then put that in the comments of the dedicated coronavirus post, because there is so much innovation happening and so many good things being shared that we want to make sure that there's a place and a house for that. So do add that to the comments of that post.
And the thing is that, that we hold you as change makers. You are the leaders that people are looking to for how to respond, to provide things like this. So let's all be those people. Like, let this bring out the best in you and share the best of what you've got, so that you get known by a whole bunch of new people, right?
Yeah. So we've got lots of people joining us. So let's, and Fiona saying a long time no see. I know you were just on we just did a quick training on how to use Zoom, and that was an hour long. So we really congratulate Robert, the Taruna's back, everyone's back. So you're going to be sick of us by the end of the day. But Matthew's got some real gems to share on this live about how to live stream your events, because again, it's really important this time when we are going to shift our focus to be working more remotely, working more digitally, how that you can convert those live events. As I was saying, I was on a great live streaming event last night, Matthew. It was the Lucy's Business Book Awards, and it was beautifully done, the way that they were actually orchestrated. It was seamless, and I know Taruna was one of the finalists on there, and you know, it just was done so well. So I think there's some great examples of how we can still operate in this time. We still can have amazing events and amazing engagement and results from live events.
Completely. And you know, it is just incredible how people are choosing to learn and do what they're doing. So Matthew, let's put them out of their misery. You are known as the King of Video. Tell us how you got that title.
Well, I'm the self-proclaimed King of Video, so that should be said first and foremost. You know, I was looking for a personal brand. Matthew Hughes is actually a UFC fighter, which clearly I'm not a UFC fighter, so trying to knock that guy off the top of Google was not going to work very well. So when I was looking for a domain name, I cheekily put King of Video, and it was available. So I was like, well, why not? I'll take that. And since I've sort of put that crown on, I've kind of owned that, really. So yeah, you know, we've been doing video for 7 years globally. So I think that there's some, I can say I've done my 10,000 hours to become the expert in that space, really. So.
And definitely, Matthew, I know that when we came across you, one of the ways we came across you is because of your personality brand. That's what we liked about it. But the first thing that was because loads of people referred you to us. Yeah. And I think that speaks loads, isn't it? Rather than you saying I am this, there's been posts that have gone up in the hub about how do you live stream. I know we're both in Delegate Warriors and Kelly Ann Teasdale's group, and you know the people are actually referring you to me, and that's the thing which gives you the right to actually claim that title.
Yeah, and I think I call that being taggable, right? Like it's one of the things that I talk to people with video. I coach people on you know, being live and that kind of thing, and I always say that the end goal really is to be taggable. Ooh.
Keep going.
The end goal really is always to be taggable. It's for people to be front of mind when people are thinking, who is the expert I need as a copywriter, as a website designer, as a video maker, whatever it is. If you can be that person that's tagged in, then there's great kudos about it, you know. And even on live events, people will say, here's Matt, the King of Video, and that has a great kudos behind it as well. So yeah, I think stepping into those shoes is big shoes to step into, but I'm quite prepared for what that means really for us as a business.
Really and tell us a little bit about the background. How did you get into this? How did you
Well, it's really funny because my background is IT. I've been in IT for 20 years. But me and my wife were getting married and we wanted a wedding video. And that's how we started the business. We looked around, we couldn't find one. I'd built a website from my friend's university course. I sort of helped him build that website. Asked him what he was doing. He was doing video production at Liverpool University. And he said he was looking for a job in Tesco. And I said, oh, forget that. Let's start a video company. And literally, you know, days later, we started the video company. We filmed 63 weddings, something like that.
Wow.
Since that time. So that's like a separate brand. It's not something we put a lot of effort into, but we've, you know, 60 odd weddings. And then we did like corporate events. So because I was in IT and I did a lot of public speaking in the IT arena, I went to all those conferences and said, hey, do you want a video? 7 years ago, you know, a video production would be like 20 grand and we were doing it for a fraction of that. So we started to get some good traction really and these were large events. You know, one of the largest ones we do is Microsoft event in Las Vegas, which is 20,000 people. So we film the sponsors and exhibitors there. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. But it was really just because we were getting married.
But that shows the scalability, right? The fact, I know when I hired my videographer for my wedding, it's like probably the most valuable thing that you're like, you want to trust that person because that's never, hopefully, it's never going to happen again that day. But the scalability of that intimate event all the way up to a 20,000 people event really allows you to claim that title because you know the difference of the interaction, the technology, the formulas need to be completely different for different scale size audiences. So we love that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. And my wife was laughing when you said that because when we try to sell the wedding films, we try to tell people how valuable they are. And you know, you always feel like salesmen, but You know, it's the one thing you really get to take. You get photos as well, I suppose, but videos, you really see the emotion. Anyway, side issue.
The
but
wedding video, I would lose all the photos just to have the video, because you don't get that energy and you can't relive it as well as you can from the video. So I'm well with your wife on that.
I am just going to interact here for one moment. One of the things that I absolutely love more than anything is one of my favorite couples. They actively have a sit down date on their wedding anniversary, and they watch their video. You know, and it's a beautiful tradition, right? You know, it's not the same as going through the photo album.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so,
I know that you're answering some questions there, Helena. I know Leslie's asking about how do we work on Zoom and Facebook.
I've just said to her, we literally just
training on that.
Training on that.
So let's get into the focus, because you know that, Matthew, our audience and our avatar are very similar to your mainstream audience and avatar, which are speakers, authors and coaches. And so video is actually one of the most engaging types of content that we encourage people to put out there as much as they can. So can you give us some ideas of the various ways that speakers, authors and coaches might use video in both their marketing and in potentially creating products, especially at this time where we're all going digital?
Yes, so I've got a list here, just a list of a couple of things that I wrote down. Online courses, you talked about in the last one, YouTube videos, hints and tips, customer testimonials, and online training. They're kind of just some of the generic stuff. You can find that answer anywhere, right? But really, when I think about speakers specifically, which is really, speakers are our ideal client at the moment, we're focusing on them a lot. I think speaker show reels is probably one of the key things. A lot of speakers, what I find is when I speak to them, is that they go and they might have some of the stuff filmed, but they're not using the material that they've got. Or they've got this really big event that they're going to speak at, maybe they're keynoting something, and they just don't get it filmed, and they don't spend the money to get it filmed. And which for me just seems like madness, because it's their biggest promotional piece of material they could have. And if you've ever seen anything like the Gary Vee stuff that he does, he'll take a keynote and he'll turn it into like 30 pieces of content.
Repurpose it, right?
So there's a whole raft of things you can do with that. We've created a repurposing product off the back of this because we saw that opportunity. So I think really from a speakers and coaches point of view, yes, if you're speaking at an event, you should be filming that stuff. Outside of that, you know, if you're a coach, an online coach, you should be recording all of your Zooms, which I'm sure you covered in your last.
And so what I've just done, Matthew, is we've run a training on what makes a really good speaker show reel. So I've just put that in the comments there so people can actually learn about the components of that. Could you talk a little bit about, because I know this is something which people don't consider, about the repurposing thing. So say, for example, people have got some footage that they've done from stage, a speaker or maybe a book launch or whatever it might be. Can you give us an idea of like the repurposing packages that you offer? What type of content can they get from that? How can they repurpose that?
So the way we do it is we have a specific process for all of this. So we will take a 2-minute part of up to 2 minutes part of your speaker session, and then we'll turn that into a video, a Facebook stories video, which people often forget about stories. We'll take it into image quotes. So we'll take a specific quote out of those 2 minutes and turn it into an image quote as well. We'll even turn it into a YouTube thumbnail and a Facebook ads video if you want to use it for that as well. So there's a whole raft of things you can do. You can then, embed it in blogs, use it across all the socials. We give people a brand kit where we tell them how they can use all these assets across all the different socials.
Nice.
So a lot of people, they're saying the same thing all the time, like, I'm a speaker and I'm looking for gigs, but I don't really know how to get myself out there. And it's like, you just need one speaker session filmed. That's it. And then all of a sudden you've got a month's worth of content.
And that's what we love about repurposing. And again, especially now when people are delivering this way, we do exactly that. We say, create something. It might even be you're doing a Facebook Live for half an hour. Have that linked with otter.ai. You get the transcript from that. That can become the blog. You create, as you said, 60 seconds that goes on Insta stories or Facebook stories. So you can actually have it uploaded to YouTube, the whole session. You can create all your marketing memes and stuff from there. So we love what you're saying, because that's exactly what we tell our clients to do. They need to sweat their assets. They need to repurpose. So they're not creating lots and lots of content and not repurposing it.
And here's what I'm going to say to all of those of you who are going, but nobody can see us and there are no events going on. I'm like, okay, good. So right now is the time to actively go, have I already done that? Have I got enough of the video footage? What can I actively now plan that I want? Because you're beginning to see the value of doing something like this. So for those of you who haven't got something like this, start to think about, when can I create that? When can I generate that? What do I need to be looking ahead and looking to book when we are all, you know, more able to meet each other and more able to go back into the conference and workshop circuit, etc. What do you do habitually? What are the keynotes that you've got that you would actively want someone like Matthew to come and do this with? So I want you to be thinking about planning ahead in that sense.
And I also want to challenge this, because I was on the call to one of my speakers, Roy Shepherd, this week, who's a facilitator, and he facilitates predominantly a lot of medical conferences for thousands of people, but he's always done online events, online meetings. So if this is the way where you need to educate people, your bookers, that online events can work, then you record you doing sections of the online event to show them, this is how I can facilitate this. This is how I can deliver my work differently. And that might be a different show reel that you give to Matthew, because it's actually showing a digital show reel rather than an actual speaker show reel. So this is all the things we need to be thinking about, how you can demonstrate how you are doing things differently.
Exactly. And so with that in mind, here comes the next question, because obviously with many events being cancelled because of the coronavirus and because of everything else, Fiona's just said, sorry, I've just been distracted. I'm going to say what Fiona said. I thought you said sweat our assets. I do.
Yeah. No, sweat your assets.
No, assets, darling, assets, not sweat grasses. I'm trying to do techie stuff, bless her. So I'm going to come back to this and just distract from that comment and go, you know, many people have obviously had their events cancelled due to the coronavirus and everything else. So we want to, the main reason that we actively wanted you to come on here, even though you speak the wider language that we actively, you know, encourage all the time, is all about live streaming. So how can people use, what is live streaming first and foremost, so that people understand what that distinction is, and then how can they use live streaming to still run their events without having people kind of physically attend? Can you explain all of that, including the technology?
Yes, I can. Right, so I'll make this as easy as I can. So I put this into 3 camps really. Or for the purposes of this, I've put it into 3 camps. So the first one is live streaming your event from your phone, right? That's what a lot of people have decided they're going to do. They're going to sit in their living room and they're going to live stream from their phone. And this is fine. I'd say it's probably the easiest barrier to entry, because you've got a phone, you can hit go live and off you go, right? It's the least expensive, it's the least technical thing to do. But I'm going to move on from that, because it's also the least interactive. There's not much you can do with it after that. There's other better services that you can use. So I'll say the second level of this is using some kind of third-party software. So we're using this now. We're using Zoom. This is the one everyone's jumped on. Zoom must have had millions of new customers in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so I sort of talk about Zoom alongside something like StreamYard. I don't know if you guys have come across StreamYard, but a competitor to BeLive kind of hit the road first, but they're not as good as StreamYard, I don't think. So I said Zoom and StreamYard are similar platforms because they're both easy to use. They both offer paid versions and they both can go to multiple platforms. The difference with the two is Zoom is where you're going to get interactivity with a classroom-based live stream event. So imagine you had an event that was a kind of mastermind, you had 20 people coming along. Zoom is perfect for that. I know you guys covered all of everything Zoom could do in the last session, so I'm not going to go into that too much, but that's what I'd kind of look at. Just remember though, that Zoom is video conferencing first. So the quality of Zoom is lesser than some of the other things that I'm going to talk about. With StreamYard's more from a point of view of summit type, like a online summit type event where you're publishing content out to the world in a live stream format. So with StreamYard, yes, you can get up to six guests. Excuse me.
We know that you've got a cough at the moment.
Yes,
so
I've got a cough. Yeah,
we're
doing all right so far.
It's okay.
So we can get up to 6 guests on StreamYard. Really nice interface. It works from a desktop first, so you do need to set it up on the desktop or a laptop. But it's really nice. You can brand it really nicely. You can bring in your screen like you can with Zoom, but that's not for, I don't think, interactivity like we've got with Zoom. So they're 2 sort of level two pieces of software. And again, from a cost perspective, you can do it with your phone, you can do it with your laptop. The software is anywhere between £3 and about £50.
Yeah.
And then the final level 3, which is kind of the top level that we kind of go for, is using something like Wirecast or OBS. These are live streaming pieces of software that are made for a professional kit. So I have a mirrorless camera that's displaying this at the moment. I've got my Blue Yeti here. I've got other in my office where I normally stream from. Clearly, we're not allowed in the office at the moment. I have multiple cameras and multiple angles and all that kind of stuff. So Wirecast and OBS is free. Wirecast is a paid version. They're the things that I would use if I was going to film and live stream an event. And they're the things we've done for virtual events in the past.
Yeah.
And with those ones, Matthew, when you're using that, and you have multiple cameras then streaming at the same time, so you get different angles for the event, so you can see the stage view, the participant view.
Yeah, exactly that. So one event we did this time last year, we had, I think, 4 cameras. We had even one of the cameras was a little webcam, the C920. I think I saw one of you.
Yeah, I had one earlier. Yeah.
We had one of those that had like the wide view of all the audience from the back of the room, and then we had like a close view, a really tight on the speaker in the presentation. So yeah, stuff like Wirecast is your friend for that. You couldn't do that on StreamYard or Zoom. It just wouldn't work so well. There's you could. There's some ways you can do it, but it would be very technical.
So we'll put the links in. I know that we've got too many technical things going at the moment, and we normally have the ability to do this, but I'm on my phone taking comments. So we'll put links into everything that you mentioned afterwards. But just to give some clarification on, I know that I've recommended OBS Project to a lot of people because what they like is that you can live stream on OBS and you can go live on all of the platforms at the same time, can't you? You can go onto Facebook and Insta and YouTube and multiple, just one touch of one button. Is that correct?
Yeah. So and that's what I use. Generally, that's what I use StreamYard for.
Yeah.
You can do it with Wirecast and OBS. You can use Restream to help move the streams across the multiple platforms. But with StreamYard, you can do that straight out the box. So I've got access to LinkedIn Live at the moment. So I go sometimes you can go to up to 5 platforms. So I do Facebook page, Facebook profile, Facebook group, LinkedIn Live, and YouTube if I'm doing some training or something like that. So
what's not to love, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's just so easy to set up.
So we've got the ones where you're saying you can just do it from your phone, which is probably stuff where you're actually just wanting to maybe record to an intimate group where you're not having to actually have that professionalism as such, but you just want to reach people. Then you've got Zoom and StreamYard, where actually it's quite user friendly for the average Joe to be able to have quite a good setup, stream across multiple platforms, and also have something which is a good bandwidth as well, because that's something we need to consider, isn't it? Is that the capability of how many people can join, before it all crashes. But then when you're actually doing like the event that you were saying with Microsoft for 20,000 people, you're going to need multiple camera setups. You're going to have something which is much more professional, and you're probably going to have less of the interactivity that we said on Zoom, because it's just more about, are you capturing the energy of the conference? Can you zoom in on the speaker on stage? Can you look at the audience breaking out into stuff? So
it's broadcast. It's broadcast rather than, an interactive session. I think they're the definition.
Brilliant, perfect. Okay, and are there any tips around that when you're, obviously that's when people would use something, but do you have any insights into mistakes that people make when they're live streaming, or any insights from a professional, from the king of video?
Yes, I have. I mean, I have loads of these tips. I've written a few down, but firstly, let's talk about sound. Sound is probably the biggest turn-off. You can have a dodgy picture at times, and the feed can break up a little bit at times, but as long as the sound's good. If the sound's bad, nobody will forgive you for it. So just think about it. Just have a think about what you're doing and where you are. There's some such easy things to do that you can improve with your sound, using a little blue Yeti, something like this, using AirPods, like using AirPods. I've spotted today that we were doing the Joe Wicks 30 minutes thing this morning. Yeah. And Joe Wicks has got an AirPod in his ear and he's listening to, I think it's his wife or someone on the broadcast desk. But, he's thought about the fact that he needs to be wireless and still communicating at the same time. So it's just thinking about those things. So sound is the biggest one, I would say. Stabilization, too many people wander around. I've seen live streams where they're holding the phone. We're all shaky. It doesn't matter what you're doing. We're all shaky. And let me tell you something about shaky. Hollywood has done us a favor with shaky. They've said, if you see shaky footage, it's either a horror film, right? Or there's action coming. So imagine you're streaming your keynote and it's like this. Then someone's sitting there subconsciously going, when's the horror coming? So just bear that in mind. We're laughing about it, but it's a genuinely thing. All it takes is a little tripod. Yeah. There's a little tripod. They're like a tenner. Yeah. You can start with them. You go right up to thousands. But
what's interesting is that what I loved about this is that my partner actually got one for me, one for him, and it comes with a tiny tripod. I mean, what's not to love about that, right?
Yeah. Well, and they're just. I always talk about video, and I just say, look, if people want to get started, the mobile phone is the first place to get started. But you can do all these little incremental things that will make things better. It's the same with confidence. When I teach people about confidence on camera, I'm always teaching them just little things at a time, like standing up when you're presenting is much better than sitting hunched down like I am now, because it's a naturally better position to be in, right? It makes you more confident. So all these little things.
We've got a question here as well, from Fiona, and she's saying, is there an equivalent to AirPods for Android?
Yes, but I'm a fruit-based user, so I know what they are. I think actually Galaxy bought out a version of them. I can't remember what they're called now, but it was a wireless Airbud, something like, I don't know. Galaxy bought one out, so definitely there is an Android alternative. Yes.
Yeah, and you can know that we've
Fiona. So as the resident Android person, so one of the.
I like my fruit devices.
You've got to be poles apart, right? So one of the things that I actively use quite a lot is my aftershocks. So my aftershocks are actually, they just sort of sit on the back of the ear, but you literally, you can hear everything that's going on around you, but it also is a microphone, so it picks it up. So they work really, really well.
They're really weird because they use bone conductor they don't go in your ear. So you can hear everything around you, but they're a bit weird to get used to.
Hang on. So they sit just in front of my ear, but the microphone picks it up really beautifully. So I've done several calls, which mean that, so again, we're almost in the other one, but I've done several calls that mean that I can hear people beautifully, but I can also hear what's going on around me. So the instructions that might be coming, but the audio and the microphone quality just picks up what I'm actually saying. So aftershocks is an option, hun. Yeah. And I'm sure that there are several others.
Yeah, we've done things like Hey Mike with people before. We've done lives in there. So it depends if you're looking for a Bluetooth microphone or whether you're looking for the headset as well, side of things. But yeah. So you were saying, sorry, Matthew, we interrupted.
So no, I mean it's a really, really good point. There's so many different ways to do it. It's hard. A lot of people will come to me and say, hey, what camera do I get? And I'm like, well, where do we start? Because it's a big question that. So when you're thinking about sound stabilization, whatever it might be, sometimes actually stabilizing on a bookcase is good enough if that's getting started. I show people the best the best free method you can get is using a window, because you get all the light from outside on your face and you're holding it against the glass window, and that is then steady enough. So there's all sorts of different ways, all again depending on your budget. Other things to think about, big mistakes, terrible transitions. I've seen window wipe transitions from the 90s. They're terrible. Please don't, if you're trying to be a modern speaker and presenter, don't use those transitions. Not speaking to the camera. So a lot of the time, like I look down because you guys are here in my thing, but my camera is there. So I'm trying all the time to make sure I'm looking so people can see that I'm talking to them. But that's hard. It's a hard skill to master, but when you do, you connect with your audience so much better. So you've got to put some time and effort into that.
And I'm just sorry, Kelly first, then I'll go.
A lot of people we know, if they're using their phone or some, like even if it's their laptop, they actually have like a little smiley face sticker that they put next to the actual camera, not open, obviously, just to remind them that actually there's a person there to smile, and that's where they need to look. Because we got asked that question a lot when we did a Facebook training on how to do Facebook Lives. I don't know where to look. Where do I look?
I've got tips for days on stuff like that. Go on, Helena. Go on.
No, it's totally fine. So in my previous incarnation, before FaceTime and all of this good stuff was available.
Darling.
I know, but I'm also showing my experience. So you young whippersnappers can just do what you're doing. But when video conferencing wasn't a thing, and I was actively kind of engaged in helping people do video conferencing when they were boxes in boardrooms and stuff like that, which I soon put paid to, but the biggest thing was helping people, as you said, Matthew, around the confidence piece. But the biggest piece of doing that was this whole thing around not getting people to look down, but to look directly into the camera lens, because that's the eye-to-eye connection, which is a little bit weird and is definitely something that you can practice. But the other thing to say about that, if you're doing an in-depth training rather than a broadcast, in the way that we're talking about, is to actively let people know why you might be looking up. So every now and then I'm looking up because of the setup that I've currently got here. I've got a screen behind me where everybody's comments are coming. But if you tell people what the environment is that you're in, they're much more forgiving about the fact that it looks like you're looking down or looking at wherever it is.
Or for example, when I look at my phone, you have to say, I'm looking at my phone to look at comments.
Not to be rude.
I'm not like getting bored of Matthew's content here and looking at through Facebook, right? Because people then go, why's she on her phone? What's she doing? That's really rude. So
that's
these
really
are
good.
Things that you can't take for granted of what people are expecting and experiencing from you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I do that I've worked in corporate places for a long time, and I take notes on my phone, so I have to tell them I'm not on Facebook. I am taking notes. So
and
we really appreciate that.
We have just had a little, apparently Samsung Galaxy Pods are also available.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
There you go. Sound like you work for the BBC.
I know, right?
Yeah, so another one is fumbling around with tech. That's something that often people do, and that only comes from practice. Like you guys were talking about Zoom before, and I noticed you talked about so many different features of Zoom. Like there's so much to it, but you've learned that over time. You didn't wake up one day and all of a sudden it wasn't like the Matrix where they put all the Zoom information in your brain.
I wish.
Yeah, I know, don't we all, right? So, but it takes some time and effort. So I think because it's so accessible for people to go on their phone and hit live, they think it's okay just to do that and not think about it. Like I believe in imperfect action, like above all else, right? So I don't want this to sound like you shouldn't just get started. You should absolutely get started now, but do practice and do get to learn the technology that you're working with, because you just look amateur when you don't understand the tech. And if you're running a professional business or if you're a professional speaker, this stuff should look like you know what you're doing. Cool. And it just takes practice. There's no secret sauce. I'm not saying that to be horrible to anybody or anything like that. It's just practice.
100%.
Makes complete sense. So in terms of hiring, so because we've been talking about people doing this for themselves, and we've been talking about potentially getting somebody professional in. What are the pros and cons of doing either of those?
Okay, so I'll start with Pro first, so you can kind of understand where I come from that, because otherwise I'll sound like I'm pitching the Pro service. But then
We
I'll tell
don't
you,
mind
I'll
that.
tell you that, yeah, I don't mind either, really, right? That's what I'm here for. So, but I'd say the key thing, people always ask me, like, what's the difference between a professional and an amateur? Because like the camera that I'm using, it costs about £1,500, maybe £2,000 with the lens.
Yeah.
Like that's not for everybody, but it's accessible for a lot of people. And I've seen people that have come along and they've bought those cameras and they bought a drone and a few other things. And they're like, hey, I'm a video maker now. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not. For the simple reason that it's this one thing that I think is the key. And this is the same with photography or anything else. It's consistency. If you can go to a shoot of any description and you can get what you need to get consistently, not 10 times out of 10, but 8 times out of 10 maybe, that's a professional. Right. An amateur or non-professional will do it half of the time. So they might get some beautiful shots, but there'll be loads that they miss because they don't know what they're doing. And that's what you pay for, really. That's the only difference. I mean, there's loads more, you know. We talked about weddings. I always say the best videographers will know how to shoot a wedding. A wedding is the hardest thing to film because you get one shot, one chance, one opportunity. You can't say, hey, just do that first kiss again at the altar. You know, like, I'll just interrupt your wedding to say kiss again. So the key for me with pro versus doing it yourself is just, if you want a consistent result, then you need to hire a professional. And so thinking about online courses, thinking about promotional films, anything like that, event video production, all of that is based on consistency. Now, to flip that on its head from a do-it-yourself point of view, sure, you're not going to get the consistency and you're not going to get the great results from the start, but there's things you can do. So I mentioned the sound, I mentioned stabilization. Yes, it's cheaper. It's a cheaper option for you. What's the end result? What are you going to use the video for in the first place? If I'm selling a £2,000 product, having a video on an iPhone or a live stream on an iPhone and trying to sell that probably isn't going to get the reception that I'd expect. Cool. Whereas if it's a £2,000 course that's well produced, when I get there and I've paid that money, I'll give you an example. Do you know Amy Porterfield? Yeah. Everyone knows Amy Porterfield, right? Amy Porterfield, if you've ever seen her course, she's got this beautiful, lovely studio. Her course is about £2,000, it's 1,500 to £2,000. And when you sit in that course and watch it all, you're like, boom, I know where my money's gone, right? Yeah. I'm happy that I've paid it. Yeah. But you go and watch her first courses when she was doing it on a webcam. They weren't like that. They didn't cost that money either. They cost $300. Yeah. So really for me, DIY, I'm saying, get started with what you've got now and then move to as you go along. Like Amy Porterfield says throughout her course, she says, she talks about a signature course, the big thing that she's got. But she started with the individual little courses and then improved them along, as you just said there, Kelly, and improve as you go along. So I think that's it really is.
And obviously we've done a lot of filming ourselves. We've supported so many people create courses, do live events, etc. I think what also, as well as the industry insight and the consistency, I think what you said is great because you are there, you have the standards that of what things need to happen because you've been in this industry and okay, the light's going to change at this time, we need to stop, and so the consistency of all those things are there. I also think when people are live streaming an event and it's their event, they do not have the capacity to manage tech at the same time as the event. Okay, so we need to think about this. If you're going to do the basics that Matthew said and shove your iPhone in the corner of the room on a tripod and hit go live, you're just going to get one shot. You're not going to be able to manage the sound or anything like that. What we're having here is a co-facilitator as well as a videographer, so that person there can manage, okay, we need to zoom in at this point, or we need to change the angle, and they are there, and that's their responsibility, that's their skill. But also, if this is not live events, but if you're doing online courses, you know how to frame it, because there are thirds. You obviously know about the thirds of how you frame somebody up and where they need to sit. sometimes if you've not got a remote on your video or your iPhone and you're getting up and you're pressing play and then you're coming to sit back down again, you might have your shirt hanging out or the wire of the cable showing, and you just,
your hair, or
and the videographer can go, whoa, 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 hang on a minute, change, because let's stop, or you're getting a bit shiny now. All these things are that extra pair of eyes, and that's what I 100% agree. Don't put this off. Start somewhere like Amy did and do it on your iPhone. But when you get the capital and the money to reinvest back in yourself, your standards improve, your professionalism improves, and the quality of the product improves.
But also the knowledge that you have now gained. So if you do something in a starting off way, 6 months down the line, you will have been repeating that information because you'll deliver it in other, we always talk about content repurposing, and you will have been talking about that. You'll have gotten more research, you'll have done more stats, you'll have gotten more results. All of that then counts for you going, right, it's time for me to actually relook at that first product and go, is there a value in me reshooting it on a more professional level? And that actively comes down to, what does your avatar require of you? Who are they now? You might have upgraded, you might have moved on a little bit. There's all sorts of things that come in here. So just because you've done it once doesn't mean you can't upgrade it. So, we're big fans. I said it earlier on, do it once to get over the fear of it. Do it twice to learn from it. Do it the third time to actually work out whether you like it and whether this becomes part of your revenue stream on a bigger and more conscious level.
The other thing to think about from that point of view is, on my LinkedIn, you'll find my title is video strategist. And it's because a lot of the times, I think, Kelly, when we first met, it was because someone asked for a videographer. And I often say to people, like, I'm not the videographer. I've not filmed anything for a long time. I have other people that do that for me now. But I still do it here and there. But the point I'm making is that if you want a videographer, you can go to a local college and you can find them, and they'll cost you a very small amount of money. But actually, a lot of the time, it's more than that you want. It's you want somebody that understands how the video is going to be used, where it's going to live. I had a website guy who we filmed this course. This woman spent a load of money with us on a course, and then we're going to go and put it on the website and just upload it to the website as a file. And I was like, that's insane. Like, why would you not put it on Vimeo and embed it? And But the reason why I had that conversation is because I cared about the end result. They came to me and saying, we want to create this course. And I was like, okay, well, who's your client avatar? And some people go, what's the client avatar? And I'm like, why are you hiring us to build a course and you don't even know who you're selling it to? Like, start there first and then let's work on that. So what the reason I'm telling you that story is really just to help the people who are listening think about a little bit more than saying, I'm going to an event, I need a videographer. Because the chances are that's not the truth. And what you think you need is not what you actually need. So instead, say, I'm thinking about filming my event. Can somebody help me with figuring that out? Because that's what you need.
And obviously, I'm going to say to all of you right now, those of you who are regular listeners, I'm about to say, you do a 4 intentions. You work out what it's going to do for you. You work out what you actually want to deliver, but you also start to consider what your audience or listener is requiring of you. And that's going to help you to absolutely brief somebody like Matthew, who you then choose to actively do that strategy for you and with you, because it is a co-creation at this point. You are literally using your own knowledge and the expertise of somebody who's using their knowledge of their subject matter. And those two things combined actively raises the standard of everything that is put out in the world. So, we're big fans of this.
Yeah, and that's if everybody trusts each other, right? Like a lot of the times, some people, not a lot of the time, some of the time, we have people that have got their own agenda and they say, we want you to. I had one guy, he sent me, do you know Funnel Hacking Live? Have you seen it in the US? Right? Everyone knows.
I do. Oh my word, I'm loving that.
Funnel Hacking Live. Someone sent me that video, it had 10,000 attendees, and they said, we want our video to look like that. And I said, okay. And he said, my event's got 60 people in it. And I said, well, let's just so you know, we might have to lower expectations a little bit there, because I can't create the buzz of 10,000 people, 60 people in a room. Like it's people look at video and expect sometimes the Mercedes Benz, and they get I don't know, I don't want to offend anyone by saying a lower value car.
Morris Minor. Not many people drive
Yeah.
them anymore.
Yes, yes. That's what I was thinking, actually. That was one of my first cars, I think. So yeah, you know, they expect that, and that's the problem. But like I say, if you can work with somebody that's just honest with you, that says, hey, you know, actually, here's the level we're at, and this is the kind of thing that we're going to produce.
Yeah.
And have you thought about all of the little social clips as well that we should create whilst we're there, or
And
the customer testimonials?
And that's the bit that I love about the strategy, because I know that you're saying if you're having your event either live streamed or whether you are filming live and getting footage from it,
yeah,
think also about how you can use that person that's filming it in there, because not only are you, as you rightly said earlier, getting footage to maybe use for a showreel clip, and because the video is, I always find that the videographer is always best to be the editor as well as the videographer, because they've been at the event, they got the feel for the event, that it's easier for you to say, you know, that bit that I did here, can you edit that out and make that into a 3-minute clip? But also, this is the thing that most people forget. They've got a videographer there and they forget to get any testimonials filmed.
Yeah.
So you're like, you have these people that are raving fans in the room. Where's the strategy before you think about the event of what are the things you need to get filmed? What's live streamed? What's a marketing material? What can be repurposed into a product from this? And that's why that strategy piece, which is why we really love you, is because you think about that with clients before they go in and just film.
And you think about it for them. Not just before that, but you think about it for them, because these are things that humanly, as a speaker, author, or coach, you shouldn't necessarily know that right at the outset, because how would you know? And that's the point. Yeah.
And you know, like I'd like to think when you've made 1,000 videos professionally, you know, you kind of know what people expect. So, you know, again, it's understanding the value that the videographer or the company that you're working with is bringing, instead of thinking, I just need a videographer, I'm going to go and pick, like, you know, like I go and pick a chocolate bar and just decide which one I'm going to have. Like, really, really think about actually what value you're getting from them. A lot of people focus on price, and the problem with focus on price is it's not value, and it's only a measure of one type of value. It's not the value you really need, which is maximizing the investment, rather than I'm gonna, do you know what, I'm gonna save £100 getting that other cheaper videographer, but later on down the line you're not going to get the value that you expected because you didn't pay the extra little bit of money. So
yeah, it makes complete sense. So I'm aware that, like, lots of people have been watching and they're getting really good value out of it in all sorts of ways, but I think this is a good point at which we can probably stop for now, and you can keep asking your questions, keep tagging us in here. But Matthew, how do you best want people to get in touch with you? How can they continue to be in touch?
Yeah, so kingofvideo.co.uk is my website address, so you can find stuff on there. I'm actively updating that. I actually broke it yesterday in my attempt to update it, so I'm working on that stuff at the moment, so there'll be more good stuff coming on there. I know I've given you a couple of links as well.
All the links are in the comments to connect with Matthew.
Yeah, so there's a gear link there, so any of the equipment that I've talked about, sound, lighting, stabilization, I've got a few links on there you can get. The software that I talk about, the toolbox link, it's all there as well. Everything is affiliate links. It should be, right, if you're a good marketer. But I only ever recommend stuff I've actually used. I don't just do it for the sake of it. And then at Real King of Video on all the socials is the way to connect with me there. So,
and you've got your own Facebook community as well, which we've got the link in there.
Yes. So the King of Video community, we've got 1,100 people in there. And again, we're sort of revamping that at the moment to help people out during this particular time of life. So
we know that you're in the Connection Hub, and I know that you've been really useful already with some of our members who have been asking questions, and you've jumped on calls with them, and you've answered questions and shared your expertise, which is why
you've been amazing.
And we know that you're in high demand at this time, so a lot of people. I think you're in our directory as well, Matthew, so we can direct people to you. And I know Taruna's saying that she's connecting with you on LinkedIn as we speak. And so I'm sure you're going to get a lot of requests and support from this. But we just wanted to highlight to people with this live that this is another option. So as we've said, we've done a Zoom training today, which is a lot of how to do this. But this is what do you need to do when you are filming a live event, when they start to happen again? And then how can you live stream events, either whether they're physical events or whether you're actually, what we're doing with Streamlard is actually broadcasting stuff out to people as a different methodology of pivoting in this time.
Yeah, especially, and of course, start to factor that in right now anyway, because there is nothing to prevent you once you are doing your live events again, you know, your in-person events, you can do an in-person event that is live streamed. So, you know, the two dovetail beautifully. But yeah, sort of on behalf of everyone who's watching, Fiona's just actually said that was brilliant. So much useful stuff was actually going on in there. So thank you, Matthew, for taking time out of your probably busy diary right now for obvious reasons.
And I hope you feel better. You know that, yeah, keep money and
what Todd is. That's what my wife's making. So.
We really appreciate your time. And
no worries. Thank you.
We've probably killed all of our Connection Hub members by being live for the last 2.5 hours. So please, do switch off. Have a great day. We'll be back with you next week as always. Enjoy the sunshine.
Bye-bye.
Bye.